As I have mentioned before, one of my greatest passions in life is attending worship services. I love to go to church. When I was on family leave, a good Sunday was when I could manage to get to 3 services at 3 different churches. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy perusing church websites. Just as a good cook might enjoy reading recipes, I like looking at church websites. This is what it said in the About Us section of a church website that I was reading last week. A truly novel approach. I started attending this church when I was 7 years old. My family had just moved to Maine without knowing anyone in the state. The first time I walked through those doors, I was nervous and shy, but was quickly welcomed with open arms. And that is the beautiful thing about this church. We truly are a family. I go to church on Sundays not only to hear the sermon and sing songs, but to see my adopted aunts, uncles, grandparents, and siblings. Over the past 11 years, I have seen the church in many different stages, from full pews to 5 people being a good week. I've never been able to afford giving much money to the church, but after having been a choir member, Sunday school teacher, and finally a session member, I feel like I've helped in my own way. I give to the church because I want to help it stay alive and inspire people, just like it has done for me. This church has helped shape me into the woman I am today, and I am very grateful. This was submitted by a congregant at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church, which is a small church in Kennebunk, located across from the large Unitarian church in the center of town. Last week at our ministerial meeting, the pastor there announced that this month, or exactly in October, the church will be closing its doors. It was a painful moment for all of us. And then the pastor added, "If misery loves company, I know that we are not alone. This is the fate of thousands of churches across the nation." Where have all the churches gone, and why? Probably one of the most poignant explanations, of which there are so many, was one I read last week expressed by Diana Butler Bass in her book, Christianity After Religion. This is what she wrote. Some may shake their heads at the demise of churches, wondering where character has gone or why young people are no longer loyal to the church. But the loss of obligation is not only a religious phenomenon, it is a social phenomenon. And then she writes, by the mid-20th century, we developed a choice-based society. Think of the Subway restaurant chain, one driven by personal preference and desire instead of custom, tradition, and obligation. Have it your way. But look at the price that we sometimes pay for that prevailing mindset. A common assertion I hear today is, no, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. What's the difference? The two terms are not mutually exclusive, by the way, but the word spiritual usually refers to one's private realm of experience, whereas the word religious refers to a connection made with a public institution, the church. The word religion comes from the Latin word ligare, to bind, to connect. Think of the word ligament. So religion is the process of reconnecting with God, with each other, and with ourselves. And so we ask, is connection that big a deal. It's everything. Julie Chase preached on it once. Do you still have that sermon, Julie? That sermon continues to feed me week after week after week on the importance of connection. By the way, Julie's preaching again in 2 weeks as the Laity Sunday preacher. You can hear her, but not that sermon. So it is that as I look at the church, as I look at the religion that the church offers, I see that connection that it affords us. My love of the church began with a simple but, to me, very important connection. The new members have heard this before. If you remember it, that's good too. But I was little. My mother was always a dyed-in-the-wool back pew attendee. Some of you can relate. But I never liked it back there because I couldn't see. Besides which, I always liked knowing what was going on up front. And so I joined the front row people, those who were hard of hearing, the geriatric row. And my unofficial buddy was Mr. Boyle. And every so often, maybe once every 6 months, he would slip me a nickel. I would gesture, making sure that he didn't mean for me to put it in the offering plate. I go. But he would smile, he would point to me, and I would become 5 cents richer. I can't recall any significant theological conversations I ever had with Mr. Boyle. Yet I do distinctly remember feeling that he valued me. Someone, a non-relative, valued me. And therein came for me a critically important connection. One of the tenets I remember from Bob and Dottie King's organization, Thrive, is the undeniable importance of an affirming relationship with someone outside the family. And where better than church can one find someone like that? Did you know that Mr. Al Moore is already doing his Christmas shopping for our children? What a gift that is! Every single child. And when you think about it, church is one of the few intergenerational institutions around. Where else can you find toddlers and senior citizens sitting side by side? As I grew older, another thing that I loved about church was that it gave me a chance to connect in service, to work with other people for a common goal. Were I at home and asked to clean my room, that didn't go over. But take me to an all-church cleanup day, and I had the time of my life. I loved working hard together. There's nothing like it. I love the story of the man who runs his car into a ditch. He gets stuck, and for the life of him, he can't get out. And so he asks a local farmer for help, and the farmer says, I have a mule who can do the job. He can't see, but he's strong. And so the farmer hooks the mule to the car. He snaps his reins, and the farmer calls out, Come on, Sam. You can do it, Shep. Let's go, Sparky. And the car is good to go. The man thanks the farmer profusely, but then says, Excuse me, sir, but could I ask a question? Why does your mule have 3 different names? He doesn't, responded the farmer. But if Sparky thought that he were the only one pulling, your car would not have budged an inch. I learned early on that there is a real joy in working as hard as you can together. I know a proverb which goes like this: one stick, one twig by itself can never a bonfire make, but think of what we can do together. Yesterday, Dick and I showed our pictures of Antarctica at the Kennebunk Baptist Church in town. And I told them about our Arctic plunge this past February. Remember that? February 12th? When 26 of us braved the icy surf. And you know what they did when they heard that? What do you think? They burst into applause. There's power. There's power that comes from connecting for a common goal. Thirdly, that's second. Secondly, the church helps us connect with our own best selves. That's one of the things that the music here does for us. Mike Kelly, a soon-to-be brand-new member, said, "This music at the Church on the Cape puts oil on the hinges of my mind." Isn't that a statement? And I might also add that the music here adds wings to our souls. Thank you, choir. This reminds me of another story I read last week about a man who was in a very disgruntled mood. He was in a bad place. He woke up grouchy, stayed grouchy. He was driving along. A woman rolled down her window, shouted out at him, "Pig!" Well, that did it. If he were in a bad mood before, this was icing on the cake. He fumed, gestured, ranted, raved, took the corner at a high rate of speed, and ended up totaling his car because he ran into a big sow that was sitting on the road. The church can lift us where we belong. If we begin in a good place, it's that much easier to stay there. Third, and finally, the church enables us to connect with the Spirit of Jesus Christ. When you come to church, you can experience what it is to become a part of someone who is larger than life. You intentionally expose your soul to the highest being in existence, the highest being that no mind can comprehend. And in the midst of God's awesome presence, we can say by ourselves, we can say together, "Make me a servant, Lord. Mold my life, even my life, whatever I have made of it so far, so that your Son, Jesus Christ, can live within me. Give me the courage to speak his truth, to love with his compassion, to forgive with his grace." And then when you do that, over time, the church becomes for you precisely the place that the Apostle Paul described in Scripture. It becomes a place where you are given a spirit of wisdom. It becomes a place where you do know the hope to which you are called. And it becomes a place where you discover for yourself, the immeasurable greatness of his power. Who could be more eloquent than the Apostle Paul in answering the question, why? Why go to church? Why is the church the place anyone would want to be? There he answers, because in essence, the church is Christ's body. It is the place where the eyes of our hearts are enlightened. That's an amazing claim. Yet through grace, that's the connection that the church offers. And what is more valuable than that? Use us, O Lord. And may Christ reign amongst us and within us, to be for him, to be for each other, to be for ourselves. The church he has created us to be, now and forevermore. Amen. Amen. At this time, I would like to invite forward our stewardship chairperson, stewardship cultivation, Fran Leoto, and I will be inviting our new members to come to the front. We rejoice to recognize you as members of Christ's Holy Church and bid you welcome to this congregation of the United Methodist Church. With you, we renew our vows to uphold it by our prayers, our presence, our gifts, and our service. With God's help, we will so order our lives after the example of Christ, that surrounded by steadfast love, you may be established in the faith and confirmed and strengthened in the way that leads to life eternal. You may be seated. Now at this time, this is the favorite time for the congregation as they get to hear a very short word from you as to who you are and anything you would like to share. So John will speak for Ada. And first time.
Ada and I have been attending the church for 2.5 years. And we go to South Carolina in the winter. And we've been looking for a church like this in South Carolina, and we haven't been successful so far. So we have watched the service here on Monday when it's on our computer. So we haven't lost touch with the church. It's a really special place. I know you hear this from a lot of people, but we really love this church. And for the first time, it's the church that we both agree on is something special. So we're honored to be members. Thank you.
And withhold your applause until the whole class is joined.
I'm Linda Carroll, and my husband Ed and I lived in Brunswick for 27 years, and he is now a retired engineer, and I'm a registered nurse, still working at Midcoast Hospital. And we moved to Kennebunk 7 years ago because our daughter and grandchildren live here. What a wonderful group. And about 14 months ago, we decided that we needed to find a new church home, and we came here 14 months ago. We haven't left since. And there's such a spirit in the air here. I mean, that is just absolutely incredible. I thank you so much for welcoming.
Where to begin? We've been here also the same amount of time. It's been the same Sunday. From another church, live in Kennebunk. I talked Bob into moving to Maine because my daughter and family are here, and we quickly agreed, and now we will tell him we love it. And I have to tell you, I was a dental assistant in Virginia, moved here and retired, and then just kind of got tired with retirement, and I thought, I've got to do something, and I've got to give back. And so I work part-time for Home Instead. I have a couple of people in the congregation that I help, and they both go here and say, you've got to come to the church. You've got to hear Penny. The music is wonderful. The first time we came, it was about 10 of 10, and the church was bursting with music, and I said, oh, I already love it here. And there's so much more besides music than Penny. We come to start, and truly happy to join today.
My turn?
Yeah.
My name is Bob Cole, and as Joan said, we've been coming here for several months now. And if the Spirit isn't in this church, I don't know any church that it is in. And the Spirit is created by you people and by your leader. This place is phenomenal. It's just, every time I leave, I feel like I've really been to church. And that's not always the case in some churches. The deciding point when I told the pastor that I want to join this church was the Sunday that you confirmed some teenagers. And when they read their essays, they were very deep, very heartfelt. Those children, they were young adults. I have never heard kids sit down and write an essay like they did. That made it solid for me. If you're teaching kids like that, this is where I want to be. I want to be part of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, all of you.
My name is Michael Kelly. My wife and I are from, my wife Donna and I are from South Natick. Donna's been coming up here every year since she was 8 with her parents. We recently bought a little cottage we had been renting and rebuilt it. We love this place and nothing compares to it. I discovered Church on the Cape one Sunday in March after breakfast at the Wayfair. Walked over here and was hesitating, and the music just kind of pulled me in the door, and then listened to Ruth. And it's the spirit, the message, and the music, and really most of all, the congregation, people I have met here. You said it feels like we've really been to church. It's just so special. It's so special, the spirit. Again, I feel very lucky to have found Church on the Cape, and thank you very much for allowing me to be part of it. Thank you.
I'm Mary Palmer, and I grew up Methodist in Wallingford, Connecticut. It was a really wonderful church. It gave me a very good foundation. Lived in different parts of the country, moved to Kennebunk in 1972, raised 3 children here, attended different churches in town, was involved with them. But then disassociated with church and sat home for several years on Sunday mornings, enjoying reading newspapers and magazines and books and sipping tea. But as I came here a few years ago, briefly, I even went to membership class, a couple of them. I wasn't really ready to make the step. But several people in this congregation have encouraged me to come here. So maybe 6 weeks ago, I just got up from the couch and said, it's time to go back to church. And the first Sunday, I felt such a sense of joy from the service. And it's like coming home again. So thank you.
I'm Matthew Weideman. I live in Westbrook, and I work for the great state of Maine. And I am very truly thankful to be able to come here and connect and serve. And I'm very happy that I've enjoyed the membership classes a lot. Ooh. And I'm very happy to be getting married in this church to Rory.
Want to tell when?
Christmas Day.
Thank you. Thank you. Now you can clap.